Hello, thank you for joining North Kansas City Hospital's Healthy Living Series, Setting Goals. We will go ahead and begin. First, I'd like for you to know that this presentation is being recorded. To ensure a quality program, please remain muted, and questions can be asked at the end through the Q&A. And with that, I will hand it over to Dennis.
Good afternoon. This is Dennis Thompson. I'm one of the chaplains on our spiritual care team, and I work specifically with a supportive care team. I like to think of goal setting as drawing a map to take a trip. I say to myself, I'm here now and I want to go to this place in the future. The goal setting is kind of the steps you're going to take to reach your destination. The first of those aspects of taking that trip is to identify your goal. Now, the goals generally are found in two kinds, required and optional. It seems almost simple, yet each one of those are going to require certain types of responses, going to require a different type of interaction. Required goals, you'll often find if your goal is to increase your skill set and you're going to have to take an educational plan or a course of study. In my position with the supportive care team, part of the Joint Commission requirements for the spiritual care aspect on the supportive care was that the chaplain would have training in palliative care. So I took a particular course with a group in order to accomplish that goal for credentials with the supportive care team. Optional ones those are kind of like your New Year's resolutions, or your kind of look in the mirror and say, oh, I think I'd like to, and then fill in the blank. Gives you a little more latitude. The idea of which one of those the required tend to fall into the professional area, the optional for your personal growth, or just to satisfy something that you thought about doing. In identifying your goal, I like to think of it in terms of asking key questions. And I've listed a couple of questions that that really guide the process. The first of those questions, what do I really want to accomplish? The other question, what makes accomplishing this goal important? The first of those questions, what do I really want to accomplish? The issue is focus. I want to increase my skills. I want to improve my health. I want to develop relationships. And by focus, I mean it helps you fine tune what you really want to see as you reach that goal. The second, and I believe perhaps the more important question, is what makes accomplishing this goal important? Because that's going to be dealing with hard issues. Accomplishing this goal is important for my, for example, self-image, or maybe you've kind of made yourself a promise that at some point in time you're going to do a particular reach a goal or to do something. Perhaps also your life situation. You're thinking about who am I? What do I want to see in my life? And I say this is the more important question because asking this question, you come back to that. That's going to be a key element in motivation. Now, of course, in goal setting, the great plan that you formulate You'd like to see that accomplished at some point in the future, and motivation is kind of the driving force to go from plan to destination. A tool we use for goal setting is to develop that path. If you see the acronym SMART, S-M-A-R-T, this really isn't a new innovation. I didn't think this up, so I want to give credit where credit is due. It's in fact, back in the early 80s, we started seeing these types of things. In fact, this in 1981 came into print in management publications. SMART is an acronym, and you can see the words that help as you develop that goal, and you come back and that becomes your point of reference. The first of those elements in your goal setting is to be specific. You know, your goal needs to be specific, otherwise you're really going to waste resources, kind of diffuse your energy. Example, maybe you say, well, I want to increase my nursing skills. Okay, well, that's very general. You know, it's a good start, but to make that more specific, you might say, I'm going to increase my skills by taking a specific course in order to become an ICU nurse. As you think about the difference between the two of those, you're accomplishing your nursing skills, but you've made it specific enough to eliminate places that you could look for training to get the one that's going to help you get to your goal most efficiently. You know, another one would be like in that New Year's resolution category, I'm going to lose some weight. Well, okay, that's good. You know, how much and what are you going to use? You know, perhaps I'm going to practice the modified Mediterranean diet to you know, to lose that weight. That's been suggested. I don't. That wasn't a recommendation for the diet, by the way. It's but the more specific you get, the better the outcome is going to be. The second is aspect of goal setting is being measurable. Your goal has to be measurable. But this is kind of like the, you know, your trip, recording your mileage on your dashboard as you're taking your trip towards your destination. You track your progress, and then you can ask how much, you know, how much am I doing? How do I know that I'm accomplishing these things? You know, for example, with if let's say you're reading a book, how many pages are you going to read in what period of time? If you're doing a textbook, at such and such a time, I will have this number of pages read, and I'll have done these exercises connected to that reading. With a course syllabus, if you're taking an academic course, some of that's going to be determined for you because you'll have midterms and the other types of tests that, so you can measure, you know, have I written the papers, have I taken the tests in order to make that that measurable. I can see how I'm progressing in this course. The reason that measurable or being measurable is so important is that the movement that you see is going to help the movement that you want to see. You can tell I've made progress to here, I know where I'm going, and I can see that that movement. Now, this measurable is also very important in meeting deadlines. One of worst things you can have happen in an academic course is to miss deadlines and be graded down, or do work and then it isn't counted because it didn't meet the deadline. Another aspect of that path, along with specific and measurable, it needs to be achievable. And here, as you look at your goal, as you're developing that goal, where do I want to go? What do I want to accomplish? Okay, is it realistic? Is it attainable? A goal, if it's gonna push you, but it's still gonna be within the realm of possibility. You may ask yourself, how realistic is my goal in light of my finances? How about my family situation, personal lifestyle? Every time that you set a goal, it's going to involve a level of sacrifice. In a previous chaplain engagement at another institution, I was involved in training chaplains. And often when the students would come in, they might be thinking, well, I want to become a vocational chaplain. And what do I have to do? Well, certification for a chaplain involves not only completing the clinical pastoral education, but there's also the academic aspect of that. And most certification person needs a Master of Divinity, which is a 3-year degree. And sometimes our students would come in and maybe they've done a year or two of college, but they don't even have their bachelor degree. And some of them were looking at second career. So say, well, I got to complete my bachelor, and that's going to be 2 years, and then I've got 3 years on top of that, and then I've got X amount of clinical time I must do. And so you need to ask yourself, is this really achievable? Is this possible within my resources? There's in a course of study, just talking about finances, you want to make sure that you have the money to accomplish, to finish that degree. I talk with people that have like half of their studies done for a degree, or 3/4. I've done 3 years in a particular degree program, but yet if you're trying to use that for a professional upgrade, saying, I have half a degree really doesn't hold as much weight as saying, yes, I've completed this degree and here's the transcript. And now let me give you a caution when you're thinking about achieving your goal in the area of achievable. Beware of setting a goal that someone else has the power to limit. If there's somebody else that in the equation to get that promotion, for example, if your goal was, I'm going to get such and such a position, that's one goal. But if somebody has to decide, a recruiting manager, or if there are other people in that, if you didn't get that position, in a sense, it would be a failure. Now, if your goal was, I'm going to gain the skills for that position, that's something that's entirely up to you, and given your resources, may be achievable. Another aspect of developing the plan is relevance. Is my goal relevant? This means that you're going to ask yourself some questions. Is this the right time? Maybe you're looking at setting a goal, but your life situation really isn't the way that you'd like to have it in order to accomplish that goal. Does it mesh with other things going on in your life? Another question you might ask is, am I the right person to reach this goal? If you set a professional goal of, I want to have this position, and so I'm going to gain skills. Maybe you have the academic skills, but for example, with a chaplain, I want to be a chaplain, but I don't have people skills. I don't like people. That probably, am I the right person for this? Is it applicable to the current culture and situation, your job market? Sometimes people, especially freshmen in college, you see them going, well, I want to be a this or that. And so they enter a course of study, and then they complete their course of study and realize that in the job market that those skills aren't very marketable. So then you've invested money and time and effort, but you have no way to practically use that. Another aspect of setting goals is time bound. This is the idea, and in fact, it's similar to measurable, except measurable is looking at content, being time bound, having your goal be time bound, has to do with looking at the clock. What progress am I making? What is being produced? And again, it may be deadlines, setting a schedule. Is it meshing with larger goals? By such and such a time, I need to have this goal done and this another goal. If I were to give you a word to kind of tack on to time bound, it would be awareness. Just kind of being aware of what's happening in your life and in that progress of your goal. The third aspect of in goal setting, we kind of looked at identifying the goal, and then we've talked about how to structure that goal with that acronym SMART. But if you want to increase the probability of success, let me give you 3 suggestions here. You can strengthen the probability of success in reaching your goal with accountability. Now that can be a person, and let me give you a suggestion on picking that person for accountability. You want to get somebody that's going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. The person, maybe they're working alongside of you. Recently, I partnered with somebody else. We were going to read a book together. So consequently, when we had our telephone call, how are you doing in your reading? What did you find? What was interesting there? There was always in that in between time in my mind, okay, I'm going to have to interact at some point in the future based on what we read. Also in accountability, one of the tools I use, I'll share kind of a little secret. I'm a very detailed oriented, obsessive type of person. So in fact, I carry a paper planner and all of those things that have gone out of style. I use my phone for scheduling unless I'm forced to do it. But in that planner, I've got all of the appointments, the dates, and if you have a goal and then you have connections you have to make or deadlines to meet, I like to have that up in front of me. That's kind of like the kick in the pants to say, all right, this has to be done by this time. You can also strengthen the probability of success with rewards. Setting a goal and meeting it is going to take effort, it's going to take commitment and that motivation. And as you reach those intermediate milestones, give yourself a reward. In seminary, I was pretty loaded down. I was working full time and going to seminary full time. and kind of running out of time at places. But when I reached certain goals, intermediate goals, I gave myself, okay, let's take some time and go out and eat ice cream or take the kids on a bike ride or something like that. Just, okay, I've accomplished this and here's my reward. The third aspect of that, uh, strengthening the probability of success, I call repair work. Even if you identified the destination perfectly, here's the goal, here's where I'm going. And even if you went through your acronym SMART and I got it specific and measurable and all of those things, sometimes you're going to look at your progress and say, this isn't working. Okay. Repair work is what I call ministering grace to yourself. It's okay to say, whoops, I think I missed on some of those aspects of goal setting, and this is not going to work. Okay. Say, okay, so what do I do now? Well, don't kind of throw up your hands and get down on yourself and beat yourself up. Ask yourself, can I adjust my goal? Are there things that I can do now to adjust that goal and accomplish it? Maybe you were asking the question, what do I hope to accomplish? And you didn't answer that well. And now you're answering that question differently and say, okay, maybe that goal was off. It was headed in kind of the right direction, but I'm really going to be able to get to the place I want to be and know I need to be by making these adjustments, these changes. Sometimes that repair work means you're going to have to delay the satisfaction of completing the goal. Maybe to anticipate that your finances, a car breaks down or something happens and you aren't able to continue that, or if you're in your parenting. Okay, I have a child with healthcare needs now that I didn't have when I started this goal. So how can I adjust this to accomplish the goal? Because really, that is the goal, to succeed in setting a goal and reaching it to accomplish your life purposes, your life goals. So let's just think in conclusion here, that identification, figure out where you want to go, figure out the steps, use that SMART acronym, and then strengthen it, that motivation to get it done. Shortly, we're going to open for question and answers, so let's take a look at that.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to chat them or put them in the Q&A.
Well, Dennis, I have a question for you. Have you ever found a time when you just couldn't make a goal achievable?
Actually, I have, and just to kind of explain what had happened, it was the achievable aspect was looking at, is this the right time? And in the job market, I was involved in the Vietnam War as a helicopter pilot, and I liked to fly. And so when I got out of the service, I started looking around and I was finding that the places that the jobs were available, uh, helicopter pilots are used down in the Gulf, and I've been stationed down there twice and really didn't want to go back. And then when I did find a position, I found out that in order to continue that, I was going to have to travel around, and by that time I had a wife and children, and I thought, whoops, it's either flying or family, because one of those that isn't going to work together. So, I made a choice to kind of take that goal and put it aside and say, okay, as much as I like to fly, I value my family more. So therefore, let's go in a different direction.
Okay. Okay, well, Dennis, I am going to say that if anybody has any questions that they think of, you have my email address and you can reach out to me and I can get with Dennis. But Dennis, thank you so much. That was very enlightening. I truly enjoyed listening to it.
Well, I enjoyed it in my training of chaplains. Each unit of clinical pastoral education required for the student goal setting. They had to develop an educational, a professional, and a academic goal. And each one of those that we afflicted them with SMART and made sure that what they and for a chaplain. The skill, in addition to developing your chaplain skills, I think is just the discipline of being able to think, I am here, I need to go there, I need for my professional development and or even just personal development. Sometimes chaplains we talk about self-care a lot, but really we aren't very, we don't always practice what we preach. So, and I would be the chief of that. I've got a colleague that is kind of my, hey, Dennis. And so being able to set those goals and without distorting your life, it needs to be an enhancement to your life, not an affliction.
That is some great wisdom. Great wisdom.
Okay.
All right, Dennis. Well, thank you so much again for your time. If you guys do have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me. We will wish you good luck with the rest of your day.